Unicron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your Autopod Decepticast co-host Ryan, coming to you here with round one of Script Deviations, back to back. We stitched together all those segments where Aaron and I and Caleb, you know, the guys on the podcast, discussed discrepancies between the different versions of the Transformers movie script and then as to what made it to screen. I'll fill in here for Aaron and say, listener, if this is your first episode of the podcast, why now? Pretty much go back and listen to any other episode. Maybe not the credit ones. I don't know. I would recommend starting from the beginning, but for a mid-series example of our greatness, everybody seems to universally love our Christmas special, episode 41, entitled, This is the Fun Part. Will we be doing a very special Christmas episode this year? I don't know, and speculation is non-binding. Script Deviations quickly became one of our favorite segments of the show, and it came about pretty organically, which is a creative way of saying we kind of fell ass backwards into it. Thrill as you listen to us awkwardly cobble together early slapdash conversations into an actual show segment that became pretty slick. About halfway through this episode is where Aaron belts out what would eventually become the Script Deviations theme song, which is from lucky episode number 13. In this week's installment, we're covering episode 1 up to episode 20, which basically brings us to the point where Optimus Prime and the Dinobots come to bail Ultra Magnus's non-dealing ass out during the siege at Autobot City. So now, without further ado, I bring you Script Deviation Part 1. I don't know why that went French. That character just came out of me. It's like, Quebecois. Whatever. Okay, enjoy.
Script Deviations.
But apparently in the original versions of the script, this was a planet of marble, and the creatures, the Lithonians, were going to be made of living rock. And I don't know why they changed direction. I'm glad they changed direction. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Just notes about the script and deviation from the early script. Is that in the early script, the movie kicks off on Lithon, just as it does here. And the first sign of trouble in the movie that we see, they look out a window and there's rumbling, and they look out a window, there's Unicron. There it is. It's right, it's right there.
They say it. They're like, hey, it's Unicron.
Hey, Unicron.
No, they say marvelous.
Marvelous. Look at the size of it.
Oh, finally, my death. Thank you.
But in the original script, there was sort of the first sign of trouble was this electronic mist.
Yes.
That enveloped the planet. The mist is eating the planet. It's described in the script as it looks as though Pompeii must have looked as Vesuvius erupted. Lithonians are running from the mist. Arbalest tells Kranix to flee and warn others of Unicron. So they haven't seen Unicron, they just know this mist is Unicron. It's a real slow reveal. And the mist ultimately engulfs Arbalest and his body melts. It says it's though he's simultaneously caught fire and doused with acid. Then Kranix just transforms into a rocket
and flies away
and takes off,
as everybody could have.
Sorry, you guys who transform into cars, you fucked.
Like he's running and he's like, oh yeah.
Oh right, I have the power of
exactly
interstellar flight.
The energy cloud, this mist, engulfs the planet, which then cracks like an egg. Rivers of lava leak out, and the cloud destroys everything. And it's only then, after the smoke clears, that you see Unicron.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the entity, as some might call him.
Is that what they did call him?
Mm-hmm. Not the one I read. Like I started reading two different versions of the script last night, and I got about a third of the way through it to the Optimus and Megatron fight. The earlier one is more interesting in just it's terrible and Ron Friedman I assume it's Friedman is how you pronounce it, is the only credited writer, even though they had other people do different versions, because the first draft is it's rough. Like also, like you were saying, the mist. They in the one I was reading, it said it had like faces in it, or like it looked like monsters or demons or something like that.
Did Ron Friedman have was he the main writer?
He was the main writer. Yeah.
Well, I think he got the credit for it. I'm not sure. It would be interesting to talk to Ron, and there's another gentleman, and if I'm going to probably mispronounce his name, Flint Dilly, I believe is how it's pronounced. So he's credited. He has a different credit. We'll find out in the next episode. It's not as writer. It's like story editor or something like that. And I believe that he actually wrote most of the script, but Ron Friedman, due to contractual things, gets the primary writing credit for most of the first for the first 2 seasons and the movie. I think it's a contract union thing. But I think Flint Dilly, this guy I brought up on screen,
looks like,
is the guy that actually penned most of it, or cleaned up maybe an early draft by Ron Friedman. I believe is how it worked. But maybe we'll get Flint and or Rod on the show to comment further.
Oh,
Open
good.
invitation.
Well, yeah,
I know that
since we were probably offensive to one of you just now.
Since I said the script was terrible.
We'll talk about it. We are going to talk about what is the metaphors that
Why
were driving
treat
the story of
Decepticons
this
differently
movie.
than the Autobots?
Speaking of Ron Friedman, this was I think it was one of his really early scripts. If you can believe it, the deaths of the Autobots in the original script are much more brutal in this scene. Prowl is literally melted into scrap by Scavenger. And then Ironhide and Ratchet in that scene get shot so much they, quote, are fused together, then blasted apart and fall in smoking, glowing fragments, unquote.
They fused together?
That's horrible.
So I read that same tidbit and I read a little bit further, but there still is the scene where where Ironhide reaches up and says no, which doesn't make sense in the context of that death, but anyway, yeah. Also, another script deviation at least on the version of we need to get in sync on the versions of the script we're looking at, but there's no scene where Laserbeak reports back. Like, he doesn't show back up and report back. He just, in the early script, you see him fly away from the Autobot moon base, and then it dissolves to this scene, essentially.
That's not...
implying that...
Like, he's going to go tell them, and they're going to do something about it.
That meeting takes place off camera. I think that adding that scene, though, really works a lot better because you get reintroduced to the characters, and like you said, you get an automatic understanding of how the dynamic of these people work.
And I know that some things have never changed. Like, Megatron instantly is just like shitting on Starscream from the beginning.
Yeah.
You just wanted to bring that back up. You just don't feel like we covered it well enough. All right, everybody, this is a TF podcast rewind. All right, hey everybody, this is episode 7. Talking about minutes 6 to 7. We got Laserbeak flying back to Decepticon headquarters. Oh, the first thing that Megatron says is gives a dig at Starscream. It's like some of my other warriors.
You never fail me.
Oh man, Caleb, do you
want to talk about that?
I don't know why I do this.
All right, and that was an official Transformers Autopod Decepticast rewind.
Oh, that's annoying for some people. Some people hated that. All right.
At least 1/3 of us hated that. I'm really sorry, Caleb. But to your point. You're right, though. I mean, I think you had to reestablish this Autobot Decepticon dynamic before you could jump straight into these robots coming on board the ship and slaughtering everybody.
Yeah, that's a real, that can't be the first time you see it. Because then they're just, they're non-characters.
Screw you guys.
The look on your face. Area here, and then we're on Earth. Well, I guess we see the ship flying towards Earth, and then it pans and you see Hotrod and Daniel fishing. Daniel's depressed. He misses his dad. Hotrod tries to console him. They catch a fish. That's basically the end of the end of the minute.
Do you notice? Look at the size. Like, he has a rod and reel that is enormous,
Okay, yeah. The fishing poles bother me a lot. Okay.
They needed a large fishing pole for a man his size.
I can only assume this is custom made.
Well, his name's Hotrod, right?
And that's
Like fishing rod?
Like a fishing rod.
maybe it's an accessory he came with.
Yeah.
It is an accessory he came with on the Masterpiece.
Is it? That's awesome.
I've got one.
I was just getting ready to
You're
say
kidding.
that's
Yeah,
really
he
cool.
comes with
a
a
rod
fishing
and,
pole.
oh
Yeah.
my god.
That's
awesome.
Badass.
I never will pose him with
Now,
it,
I hate this because, like, okay, leaving aside that he had a custom-made fishing pole, why are they holding him upside down? Clearly, nobody involved in this movie has been fishing.
I don't know. No. Those are, see, you know what? These are fly fishing rods.
but they're not fly
though.
fishing.
I know that, but that's what they're using. They're using like fly fishing rods. So, yes, those they're not completely incorrect.
Well,
Well, let me ask you this: they're both holding him in their left hand, or they're.
But that also means you can't.
They're holding him in the wrong hand for reeling it
Exactly.
in. Also,
because you'd have to reel with your left hand.
Well, I'm left-handed, so I mean that's
Do
how I
you
do
do
it.
you reel with your left hand?
I reel with my right hand.
Well,
welcome everybody to the Autopod Decepticast Angling Hour.
Yeah, the Decpti-CAST.
so pleased with himself. That was pretty good. So in
Hot Rod's Decepticast.
Yeah, see, like we're gonna have a side. We're gonna start
That's pretty good.
a side cast where it's all about Transformers fishing.
or we can just do like Transformer puns.
Hot Rod's Decepticast. It's all about his experiences, like out on the lake and
Fly fishing with his dad. In the original, I think Ron Friedman has never been fishing either, because in the original script, oh my god, starts with them seeing the ship land, and then he goes, so that hasn't happened yet in this one. But then whenever Hot Rod reels up the fish, he pulls up a line with 3 fish on it. How is that even possible?
In the original script?
Yeah.
I don't even know why that would be like...
This is literally what it says. Pulls line up to show he's caught 3 large fish.
We need to get our aligned on what versions of the script we're looking at, because in my version, there is no mention of fishing, or they are fishing. There's never a part where they actually catch a fish.
Oh.
Like there's no, in fact.
Real missed opportunity.
Yeah, on Earth, Daniel's kind of got his portable viewer, and he's keeping track of the scene opens up, and it's like Daniel's already sees that the ship is coming in. He's getting excited about it. There's no mention of him being depressed, sad, missing his dad. He just basically, the ship's coming, let's go. Mm-hmm. And then I'm jumping a little into next episode technically, but then Hot Rod throws the pole into the lake, and then they go on his custom pole.
Is that
getting ready to happen?
No,
he doesn't do that here.
But in the script,
there's no littering.
In the script,
in my version of the script,
they literally
we need to figure out what. It would be interesting to figure out which
all
one.
Of that's ridiculous. Why?
I love the script deviation parts of this.
Is Friedman writing? Do you think Friedman was writing that he caught 3 fish kind of as a demonstration of his prowess?
But it's impossible. It's literally impossible.
I know. So you're right. He doesn't understand fishing. A good fisherman isn't known for reeling
multiple fish at once.
He caught like 7 fish.
Unless he's got like hooks down the line, like you do in a deep sea fishing commercial vessel.
You just catch them with a net.
Yeah,
and we don't know if this is a Friedman thing or a Dilly thing, but
a lot of.
But they in your version they actually just wrote that he just threw the rod into the lake.
Right, they threw the rod into the lake
detail.
And then they took off. But another script deviation on mine when it comes to the scene on the ship. Ironhide, instead of saying no and being blown to atoms, he says. Fat chance, Megatron. And then picks himself up, grabs onto Megatron, and Megatron then just flings him against a wall and says such heroic nonsense. But it doesn't mention that he executes him at that point. So I'm sure they changed it.
They punched it up. This is better.
Okay. So I might have an earlier version. You may have draft 2, perhaps.
I feel like the one I have is pretty early because it's really different. But
well, at some point between my draft and your draft,
somebody
decided, 0 fish, 3 fish, and then they settled on 1 fish.
Well, good. I think they made a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna
fish is a good fish, good number of fish.
I would hope that what would be awesome is if he did throw the rod into the lake, and it shows the rod sinking to the bottom of the lake with a pile of other rods. Like every time he's just like...
They're disposable rods. They're
Well,
single-use rods.
In his mind, they are. So he's just like...
No wonder they need so much energon. They're wasting all their time building rods.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So we get our first look at him in his alt mode. He's gorgeous. He turns into a fast car. His name's Hotrod. They don't retrieve the hoverboard.
In the original script, it's a bicycle.
Are you shitting me?
No,
I love this. I want to.
You must have an earlier script than I did.
I think I do.
Must.
I so love the. I so badly want to see.
How boring would that
the
scene be?
The movie that you have where it's the Unicron mist and he catches three
fish on a single line.
I want to see him throw the rod in and he drives away on a bicycle. I want to see this movie.
That would be insane.
I do so bad.
Oh God. God damn.
The writer's cut. The Ron Friedman cut.
The Ron Friedman cut. Okay, Autobot City. Like, this is where we at 9:51. We see Autobot City through the trees, and this is like this is part of the original script. I kind of wish they'd left in, but I think they cut for time. Because in the original script, it's much more obvious what Autobot City is, which is a huge energy production facility, which is why they're coming from the Cybertron moons to get energon cubes, because it doesn't make sense for Megatron to attack this city and they'd be destroyed unless it's their major source of energon.
I see there's hydro. They're dealing with hydroelectric power.
Yeah. So in this original one, Autobot City looks like a federal energy project gone mad. Here, the Autobots are trying to exploit every known means of getting energy. The mountain is covered with solar panels, windmills spin in the valley, oil derelicts pump. There's oil apparently.
All kinds of stuff going on.
Faraway hydroelectric dam, which is in there in the background of these things. We see various panel truck type Autobots cruise up in the auto mode, do sacks of this energon, convert it to humanoid mode, load up their vans, throw it in the air, transform around it. That's not in the script, but to auto mode and then throw it to energon back to Autobot City.
So they're cranking out power because they're building up. They got to get energon together for their campaign to take back Cybertron.
Yes.
And that does make sense in retrospect because that's the whole reason Optimus Prime sends Ironhide on his trip. So that sequence, I had that in my notes as well.
Oh, sorry.
And no need to apologize. So that's a shared thing between both of the scripts. So they're driving, and Daniel says at one point, stop. They get to a place where Daniel's like, stop. But Hot Rod's basically like, fuck that, son. You ever heard of Lookout Mountain, you little bitch?
Why settle for a piece down?
He's trying to impress him. He's like, why do this when we can do this?
But does Daniel not know about Lookout Mountain? Which, in the script I have, they tuck this out. Daniel says... he says, why settle for beacon? They say everything from Lookout Mountain. Daniel says, we're not supposed to go beyond city limits, which is why the roadblock's there. Another thing I never thought about. And then Hot Rod says, hey, what are you anyway? A Chromochicken? Which isn't even...
A Chromochicken?
I mean, it's not worse than beryllium bologna or cesium salami, which is what the Dinobots say later, but that's the Dinobots. They have tiny brains. That was a good cut.
I so badly want to see the original writing of this come to life.
Script deviations. Have you got anything, Ryan?
I have nothing for this minute, and the next minute I don't have any.
Okay,
so do you.
Maybe that's one thing we need a script deviations.
I wish this was a video podcast so you could see Caleb's.
Well, Aaron wants to put like some little like.
I want soundboard.
He wants like a little theme for every little aspect of what we're doing here.
We're gonna make fun of Caleb now.
Right.
Well.
Well.
I'll have to make some music.
All right, so script deviations. There's not much. I don't have much for this either. Instead of the scene with Cup and Blitzwing, instead of bending his barrel up into the air, on the version of the script that I have, Cup spins his turret around. It does like a bling.
That makes more sense.
And he Blitzwings takes the shot and hits shrapnel still, which it kind of makes more sense to me. Like
it does.
Shrapnel's over there instead of over there. But and then the other thing is that then Blitzwing transforms into a robot mode. Cup comes flying at him and takes kind of a flying feet first kick at him and knocks Blitzwing off a ledge.
I did read that and could not visualize how that scene would have worked.
Yeah.
So
they did fine. I like the whole tumbling down the mountain and crashing into each other thing.
The problem I had was where like he's not on him anymore and then comes jumping at him. I could not figure out how that logistically was supposed to work, but it's also like, why did you shoot? You know that somebody's manipulating your turret. Like, why did you fire?
Just trying to get it off real quick.
I guess.
Or maybe he was like, I wasn't quite there. He's got me right in the sights.
Yeah, or it's like, well, it's like whenever you try to stop from coming, and it just happens. Well, I can't make all these sperms turn around.
Oh, God. The only other script deviation is that old-timer line, that's something you'll never be if you don't get back to the city, and the addition of the line, you know what we used to do with cocky, insubordinate upstarts, which never gets addressed. I don't know what they used to do with cocky, insubordinate upstarts.
That's presumably where Hot Rod says,
Save it, Cup. Right. Exactly. So that's all I've got.
Yeah, no, I thought this would actually be kind of an anemic episode, but we covered a lot of shit. That's all I've got as well, I believe.
I mean, a couple things. Next episode, or I'm sorry, hang on.
Script Deviations.
Oh,
until Caleb decides to.
I think I just like for you to keep doing that.
You should take what I just did and then freak it.
Script Deviations.
These are more notes than deviations, but Arcee is described on the script.
I just remembered what I was going to talk about. Go ahead. It ties into this.
As a lovely female Autobot of about Hot Rod's age.
Mm-hmm.
So they have age. I mean,
Hot Rod, I think, seemingly is certainly inexperienced compared to other Autobots.
All right, I see. Okay.
You hate Hot Rod so much.
Well, he was talking more about age.
That's true.
And then Springer is listed as, like, he's described in the script as a very muscular and bantering, quote, Indiana Jones type.
That was what I was going to talk about, yeah.
Okay.
He's modeled after the Indiana Jones, yeah.
Okay.
Ultra Magnus is called a large and soldierly city commander. In that scene where Starscream dive bombs them, Springer fires from his hip instead of his arm cannon, which is weird. And the script also lists Dirge as the attacker as opposed to Starscream. And Springer's blast is supposed to blow off Dirge's wingtip. And there's no mention of Blur whatsoever. In fact, in the version of the script that I've been looking at, there's no mention of him until way later, until they are trying to load the Dinobots onto the ship when they're trying to escape.
In the second attack?
When Galvatron and Cyclonus come to
the second
try
attack
and
of
fight. Yeah,
Autobot City.
exactly. So that, like, just all of a sudden, Blur exists in that world. There's no introduction of Blur.
Yeah, I missed that. I guess I did not see that.
So the introduction of Blur here was a good thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's like they forgot about
it. It is good. I think they did do a good job of like front loading. And again, as a kid, I'm not just like discerning as to movies I watch, but I think they do a good job of like front loading what these guys' characters are. Like obviously, Ultra Magnus is in control. Springer and Arcee are, a thing, and then Blur is like a fast, like, hey, what can I do? Ultra Magnus? Guy.
His name's Blur.
That's right. Anyway. I just thought it was
It doesn't seem that creative to me. Hey, we got a guy named Blur. What are we going to do?
Okay.
I don't know, make him fast or something.
Well, they came up with the name first, and then they decided what to do with him?
Chomping around a cigar. I don't know, make him fast or
His
something.
name's Blur. Make him fast.
Maybe.
Hey, he turns into a pickup truck. What do we call him?
Cop?
Fuck up.
Shut the fuck
How
up.
about...
Our listeners.
I gotta go home and
Cut this shit.
There's going to be a lot to cut because we're at an hour recording.
We're just...
I only have one, and it's that in my version of the script, Starscream's foot situation is somewhat different from what is on screen. In my version, an early version of the script, his foot gets caught in the clam of the transforming courtyard, and after struggling for a second, he holds out his arm, and a contraption comes out of his wrist that is basically like a robotic shoehorn.
What?
And it comes out, goes down, and pries his foot out of the clamshell, and then he flies off into space.
Oh my god, I don't have that in mind.
I gotta admit, we've had conversations about how the Transformers have like a special gift that helps them in a specific situation. That is the most specific situation. He's got a shoehorn.
And again, to Caleb's point of like, I want to see the movie that is the first draft of these, like all mashed together.
It is not a shoehorn though. It is just acting like a shoehorn.
That's right.
That's what it
It's
says.
mimicking a shoehorn.
No, I'm just making fun of Ryan.
It's like it's a pry bar.
Yeah.
I like how it's a shoehorn.
There
visualize
is a Decepticon named Prybar, and that is all he does. It's turned into a crowbar. I'm kidding.
Okay,
That's not real.
No, I'm sorry.
He looked so compelled
I
by
was
that.
like,
He captured his imagination. I need to see
no,
this.
he had me fooled for a second.
Do you guys have anything else on this guy?
There's a huge deviation in the script at this point, where it actually is the point where Hotrod and Cup go into Autobot City. After they do that, they go into a room where we see Wheeljack and Ultra Magnus and some other gangs of monitors, and it is revealed by Wheeljack that the Constructicons are attacking the city walls in the vicinity of the Robo-Zoo Lab.
What's the Robo-Zoo Lab?
Oh, well, it appears to be, and then Ultra Magnus says, release the Anabots. Then you get cut to the Constructicons, and they're attacking a portion of the city that, behind them, a door comes up, and like these Autobots come out that, tell me if these remind you of anyone. The Anabots, Simba is a lion, Pardu is a leopard, Shriek is an eagle, Thump is a buffalo, and Clump is a rhino.
Wow, so originally the Predacons were designed to be Autobots.
Anabots. Yes.
And they decided to make them Decepticons
This sounds
at some
very
point down the line.
This sounds along the storyline of Scramble City too.
Yeah.
This sounds like a...
But it also brings up the point of, are they slaves? Like they're in an Anazoo. Like they're contained, and trapped because they're too aggressive and dangerous. And that just leads me to believe, Wheeljack made these guys. Because
they're another crazy Wheeljack invention.
Yes! I'm like, this bot must be stopped. He has made the Dinobots with tiny brains, and they're too aggressive. They banished them twice in the cartoon. And then he's made these slave Anabots that are in cages, only released whenever times are dire. Stop letting him create sentient beings.
Well, and obviously those Anabots ultimately become Decepticons, and so...
Yeah, and so just to be clear, the Predacons, the Anabots turn into Dragon Beast, which does have...
That's their combiner?
That's their combiner form.
Okay.
Which you can find, if you Google image it, there is a... what's his name? The artist who... Floro Dairy. I don't know if that's pronounced correct. But he does have a design out there of what it would have looked like. But
it's different from the current Predaking?
Oh, it's a dragon.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting because no combiners turn into anything but a robot.
Right.
But yeah, the Predacons to say that their components. The only Razor Claw is the lion, Rampage is the leopard, Dive Bomb is the eagle, and Tantrum is the bull, and Headstrong is the rhino. And so they removed the buffalo and turned it into a bull. Why? Guess what, motherfuckers? There's no such thing as a buffalo in America. I'm fighting a losing battle with this. Buffaloes only exist in Africa. It's a bison. I know.
Thanks for clearing that up, because that is an ongoing source of stress for me as well in casual conversations.
Yeah, it comes up all the time, right?
It's almost as bad as like calling a chimp a monkey.
I hate that too. That's another pet peeve. Another one is whenever you interchange poison and venom. Poison is ingested, venom is injected.
Or it's like calling.
There are no such thing as poisonous snakes. You know what, Wheeljack? He just. I'm glad he's dead.
You said it.
You
believe it.
I like the Dinobots.
So while we're talking about this script deviation, I was going to save it for the end, but this is completely related. So the version of the script that I have around that moment, doesn't mention the horrific skull crunching that Cup delivers this shrapnel. Rather, they both ramp in, the kickback. Rather, he ramps into the city, and both Shrapnel and Kickback are still kind of close to that door, and they both make an attempt to bite Cup as he drives into the thing, and they miss right as the door closes. And it says in the script that so instead of biting on Cup, they chomp down on that door, and they chomp down so hard it breaks their teeth. What? That's what it says.
Because they have teeth now?
They have teeth now. And also, additionally, once inside the city, there's a confrontation with Ultra Magnus, between Hot Rod and Ultra Magnus, where Ultra Magnus says to Hot Rod, "You can explain your security violations later, Hot Rod. Now man your battle station." And then Hot Rod gets all uppity and is like, "I don't have to explain my so-called violation to you or anyone." And Cup is like, "Later, Hot Rod."
Oh, he's like, "All right, Dad."
So there's that part to that scene as well. So now we
also, though, like 100%, you do have to explain it because you're in a fucking army.
He's your boss.
Exactly.
But they're also a family. Here, I have one extra line. Maybe if you've got it, I want you to do it. During the tape break-in sequence, Blaster has an additional line. Do you have that in your notes by any chance?
We got cassette critters knocking on a window.
Yeah, that's
That's weird.
It's an additional line. Also, my favorite thing is that during the fight, when he releases his tapes, do you know about this?
I don't know.
He spews out 4 tapes that are not anything like the tapes that we have on screen. So what we had were Steeljaw the Lion, Ramhorn the Rhino, and then Eject and Rewind the 2 guys. So during the fight, in my version, he spews out Cubby, a lion, Stripes, a tiger, Stinger, a scorpion, and Bolts, which is a small, tough robot.
Yeah, these are terrible names.
And so...
But also Bolts. Plural? His name's plural? Why?
On bolts.
Maybe he fires bolts.
Yeah.
These bolts.
Cubby, come on, that is
Cute little Cubby.
so adorable.
So where Ravage and Laserbeak were fortunate enough to have a dedicated vocal performer, Steeljaw, who became Cubby. Cubby is the only... Let me just back up.
Yep.
Cubby is the only one that actually became what happened, the lion form. The other forms were not incorporated at all and are essentially just lost characters, although... Stripes does have toys. In fact, he's probably one of the most obscure characters to have a toy.
Really?
But the rest of them were not ever produced.
Stripes.
And then the only other note I have is that Ravage and Laserbeak, so Frank Welker did both of their voices. They had a dedicated performer. But Steeljaw's noises were mostly library sound effects of growling, hissing cats and metallic ronk ronk sounds. That's from the TF Wiki.
That is awesome. All right, let's get into it.
So I know, Ryan, you have a lot. So you go for it.
Go?
And if I've got anything, I will jump into it.
So I actually do agree with a lot of these cuts because you can cut it for time, cut it for pacing. There is, let's see, there's a whole scene that we have now after Blaster and Perceptor. There's a cut, and we see Blitzwing, who is shooting in plane mode, shooting and firing, and then we see from his POV, and he's like, uh-oh, because Power Glide and Warpath are coming right at him.
Awesome.
And so basically they take out Blitzwing, they shoot him, and he crashes into the fishing hole.
Yes.
That's right. And it's not, look, it is the fishing apostrophe no G hole, the fishing hole, which is the name of my strip club.
The fishing hole. So he crashes into that big pile of rod and reels at the
as Blitzwing lands with a hiss of steam, his flames crackling out as Power Glide and Warpath lay a final load of bombs on him in the water and blast off.
What are those poor fish?
That's true. What about the trout?
Yeah.
They can never fish there again.
Nope.
And then there is just some more with Megatron. There's another. We go to the wall. Actually, here, Thundercracker and Skywarp they're all like with Megatron trying to pry parts off the wall, and then into the breach, like we see Sunstreaker, Hound, and Bluestreak. Sunstreaker's a real problem. Hound and Bluestreak come out and start fighting them. And this Bluestreak steps out with a laser saber and cuts Thundercracker in half with a roar as Skywarp throws himself on Bluestreak, and Decepticons swarm in. Hound, using a blaster from low position, cuts off the Decepticons' legs, toppling them, still fighting as they... It's a bit complicated as to what happens there. I'm not...
Wait a minute, so he blasts their legs off, and they're like...
I don't think off. I think he just knocks them over because he shoots their legs.
Still fighting, though.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a scene... We're back on the munitions factory on Cybertron, where Optimus Prime is getting ready to launch, and this is actually something we see later. The Bumblebee is trying... which... he was on the other moon, so that's a continuity issue there. But Bumblebee is trying to get the Dinobots into the ship, and they don't want to go. They're just being dicks, which we'll see later again. Mm-hmm. And Grimlock's like, me, Grimlock, not take orders. And then Bumblebee's like, no offense, Grimlock. It's just that we need your strength to save Autobot City. But more than that, we need your strategic intelligence. And
he's trying to like butter him
that's
up.
That's right. And it works.
Is he patronizing him?
No, he's like flattering him because it says Grimlock, parenthesis, flattered, lets little Bumblebee lead him on board. Me Grimlock understand. Me Grimlock make clever plan.
Oh boy.
Which that was almost sounded like a Yoda voice I was doing there. Then there's Optimus, take charge of operations while we're gone.
Says that to Bumblebee?
It says that to Jazz and Cliffjumper.
Okay.
And then there's a whole scene where they fly by that same
take charge of operations. If with the Dinobots pulled out of the plant, who's going to be?
I mean, you just got Spike and Bumblebee, but they're on another moon. Well, not here, but yeah, that's true. Anyway. We're grinding to a real halt there. And then Optimus Prime, they're in the shuttle and fly past the same flight plan that the other shuttle. And
do they see debris or any evidence of the past skirmish?
No. Although Optimus Prime does say, let's see if I can do a voice. Lock coordinates and accelerate. That's terrible. Lock coordinates and accelerate to maximum speed, which is not a thing in space. If you're firing your rockets, you're continuously accelerating. There's no maximum speed. Anyways,
stupid.
As the space shuttle, as the shuttle moves up into view. We pan past a shadowy area next to a dead planetoid, and Astro Train comes out from it, which I'm like, what? I guess
that's true. We haven't seen Astro Train to this point.
Yeah,
we know he's going to make an appearance, but we haven't.
So this is where
him.
he comes in. Like this is why he shows up, and destruction to all Autobots. 7 S's. And then so
he's like Cobra Commander?
Like, yeah, apparently. Yeah, and so also in this, Bumblebee is on the shuttle. He mans the shuttle controls when they're being attacked. And so, yeah, Astro Train shoots at the place. Then we go back to Autobot City, and we're back into continuity then.
I'm confused.
So let me just try and summarize. So Optimus and a crew take off to go to Earth to help out. So we see that Astro Train tries to intercept them at some point and fails. And and that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, well, they just left Astro Train in space. You guys,
I guess...
Astro Train, this is Starscream. Guard the Earth's atmosphere in case any Autobots decide they want to reinforce these other Autobots who are heavily armed and, frankly, we're in a precarious position ourselves. But in case any other Autobots show up, it is your sole duty. If the strongest Autobot, Optimus Prime, were to show, it's your job to destroy him.
So you're just assuming that so I'm just gonna wait on this asteroid. They're just gonna assume that somebody's gonna come. I mean, it could help. I could come to the city and help to attack Autobot City if but no, I'll just wait.
The only script deviation that I have is that during the cassette battle sequence, in the last episode we talked about Blaster's tapes and how they changed dramatically from what we see on screen to what they were in my version of the script, which was that today he has 2 little robo dudes, a rhino and a lion. Originally it was supposed to be 1 robo dude, a scorpion, a tiger, and a lion. And this is just really a continuation of that, and that Cubby, who eventually or arguably becomes Steeljaw the lion, So he takes out Rumble, so that's basically accurate.
By cuddling him.
That's right. He's adorable.
It's an adorable battle. And then Stripes, the tiger, takes out Ratbat. That was Ramhorn that did that in reality. Bolts, this is a funny one. So then Bolts, the robo
tough
guy,
little robot.
he engages Frenzy, who he smacks him. Frenzy flies into Stinger, the stinger of the Scorpion robot, and then he gets jabbed, freaks out, and runs away and isn't mentioned. The other thing that I just want to bring up, we mentioned it a few episodes ago, that in my version of the script, which I think is one of the earliest ones, there's no mention of Blur still to this point. So even to now, the whole part about Blur, defending that tower underneath the cannon had not happened. No mention of Blur. Blur doesn't exist yet. I do, but you go for it.
Okay.
You'll probably have what I have.
That's possible. I mean, these are kind of all over the place, but in the script I have, it doesn't show up until the Dinobots show up, but it's kind of interspersed. There is a part where there is one line that Springer says where he says, "I got better things to do tonight than die." The line in the script is, "Let's make sure he can't take advantage of it." Talking about Megatron, and I'm like, well, I'm glad they punched that up.
By deleting it entirely.
That's right. Let's just leave that out. And then inside the screen, whenever Devastator is punching the wall, it goes to Ultra Magnus, and he says to Wheeljack, "Devastator's almost reached our inner defense membrane," which is a weird. Why?
It makes me sad to know that in a version of this script, Wheeljack was still alive.
Yeah.
But he had that zoo of Predacons or Autobots to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, wow. Because the Ultra Magus says to initiate Dragon Beast, which is where the Anabots use their combiner mode to form a giant dragon, which is a mechano-like beast which breathes lightning bolts, which emerge from its maw like the stylized ocean waves in a Japanese print.
So, okay, we know that the only reason, well, I don't know if it's the only reason, the main reason Autobot Combiners Superion Defensor aren't in this movie is because this movie was being produced concurrently with the television show, and the writers and producers of this movie they didn't get the memo that was happening, I guess, or just whatever. It's whatever happened. So, in the interim, they created this totally whacked out, crazy combiner to compete with Devastator. And anyway, it's just wild that they created the most psychedelic nutballs.
It's really
combiner.
out there.
Meanwhile, the guys doing the TV show create they're basic combiners.
It's just, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
There's a lot of baggage with the how the lightning is coming out. How do you say how it's coming out of the mouth?
From his mouth, like stylized ocean waves in a Japanese print. You know, those jagged edges.
Right, the famous Japanese print. It's by an artist called Hokusai. And Hokusai did like a series of these stylized waves. He was a very famous Japanese artist back in the 19th century. Wave painting has a lot of importance in Japanese culture. And the Mongolian Empire tried to invade Japan. There was a divine wind known as kamikaze. That sunk them and crippled the Mongolian fleet and prevented the Mongolians from invading and taking Japan as part of the Mongolian Empire. I wonder if there's any baggage or any kind of.
I can't imagine.
Am I reading it?
I can't imagine Ron Freeman knows that.
Okay, I'm reading into it.
But that's interesting. Like that's really I didn't know that.
But the artist for that famous series paintings he's called Hokusai. Awesome dude. You should check it out.
Yeah, no, I love those paintings.
It doesn't seem inconceivable to me that Ron Friedman would be the type of guy that would know that. All these toys have Japanese heritage in their previous storylines, so it seems like. He's an inquisitive guy. He's no dummy.
Could be.
He's kind of the
whenever he comes on the
Transformers.
show. Whenever he comes on the show,
all
these are going to be talking
points. We'll grill him on Hokusai.
And so that is they grapple like it says Dragon Beast will annihilate Devastator. There's like 20 IAs here. So they just start scrapping, and then that's when Prime's shuttle comes down, and the Dinobots are released, and then the next big deviation I have will be the next episode.
So, well, I'm looking forward to that because I'm hypothesizing in my head that it's Dragon Beast plus Dinobots versus Devastator. versus what we got on screen, that seems so much more epic. The only thing that I have that you didn't cover is that at some point, Devastator must have torn into the pillbox that Hotrod and the group are in, because the script I have indicates that he grabs Hotrod and Cup and has both of them in his hands and is crushing them. And it isn't until the Dinobots show up, and also the Dinobots, once they leave the ship, they are firing on Devastator in robot mode, and then they transform into their Dinobot modes, and then ultimately engage him in more hand-to-hand style combat. But it isn't until that happens that then Devastator just, he's shaken a little bit, and he releases Hotrod and Cup.
It's interesting it would take that long, considering what he made of that cannon with one just like squeeze of his fist.
I know.
So the deviations in this one are kind of just more like expansions. Like there's, of course, we still have the Anobots in here, which are still fighting Devastator whenever the Dinobots show up. So it's then the Anobots and the Dinobots against Devastator. Devastator and Dragon Beast stop as a...
Dragon Beast.
Yeah, it's a great name. It's good. We are not Predaking. There's a noisy roar as the Dinobots come in, and
as opposed to what, a quiet roar?
Yeah, the silent roars. That's what I say when whenever I have an orgasm. Oh, the silent roar. Caleb loves it. So we follow the Dinobots as they transform in Dino mode, attack Devastator, which falls apart basically. And then Megatron is running with the rest of his troops, in which we don't see him in this one. He presumably comes in after. There's a little weird... I guess he's already into the breach. He must already be into the breach at this point, because he's leading the Decepticons. But in this script, all of his... when this is happening, all of his troops flee, and he's left alone in the field, and he says, "Stand and fight, Decepticons! Hold your ground, I say!" Then basically we cut actually to Arcee and Hotrod and Cup in a pillbox, and they cheer and clasp hands. Hotrod reacting as Arcee places her smaller hand... I don't know why we have to specifically say smaller.
Her smaller female hand.
Hey everybody, she's a lady. Her smaller hand on top of his, and Hotrod says, "It's Optimus and the Dinobots!" And this is
Why couldn't it be a bigger hand?
She has man hands?
Well,
that Seinfeld
It
episode?
doesn't have to be man hands. But, like, her hand could be feminine, but just for whatever reason, significantly
Hotrod.
There's a script note that Hotrod doesn't say it out loud, but Hotrod notices that her hands will make his dick look small if they ever
Well, we can't fuck.
enrapture them.
Yeah. You can't have my piston. Okay. All right. Moving along. So the stage direction says he sees Arcee's hand, clears his throat, and removes his hand, and says, "It's not over yet," because he's shy.
That tension.
Yeah.
He goes, "Your hands are so small."
And there's actually a line here for Daniel where apparently he's not dead. He climbs up onto Cup's shoulder, and this is a line for Arcee later on. And he says, "The Decepticons are retreating. Yay!" She doesn't say yay, but...
Oh, you just added that?
No, he says yay in the script.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Arcee says that exact line later, except without the stupid yay.
Like they're 9-year-olds.
So he climbed up on Cup. Like, how tall is Cup?
Probably 20 feet.
So they let him climb.
He scales him like a little monkey.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, allegedly the reverse happened last time.
Where Cup climbed up on top
That's-
of Daniel?
Well, he climbed up
on
next
top of
to him.
Hotrod. Sorry.
I see.
Yeah.
That's all I have for this moment. There's more in the next one, but
All right, interesting. So I thought you would probably cover mine, but mine is actually totally different.
Oh.
Just indicate. You'll recall that last time Devastator actually had Hotrod and Cup in his hand.
That's true. Yeah.
And so in my version of the script, it indicates that first of all, when the dinos are on that ship, they're in dino mode on the ship, and they transform into robot mode, jump off the ship, and then transform back into dino mode again.
Which is...
After firing at Devastator,
Yeah.
they fly for a spell, fire at him, and then transform back into dinosaurs. And the script indicates that the Dinobots are overwhelmed by Devastator, and their strength is more than matched, which did play out on screen, I believe. But Hotrod and Cup are released during that struggle. And then when the ship ultimately lands, Prime has problems getting off the ship. It says that he begins shooting. There's a swarm of Decepticons that are trying to get towards the ship and envelop it, and Prime is shooting at them. Essentially, that very moment he emerges and starts blasting away. Megatron is only 100 yards away, the script indicates.
Which in Transformers terms is like 10 feet.
Right, yeah, no kidding.
It's a couple of steps.
No kidding. Regarding The Touch, it doesn't mention the song The Touch specifically in the script, but it does say that as Prime battles his way through the Decepticons, we hear an inspiring anthem of courage, strength, and triumph, like Eye of the Tiger.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good placeholder for that. Like,
So the song was inspired by a line in the movie Iron Eagle. I don't know if it's towards the end of the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but but you can see it on YouTube. There's a dogfight, and Lou Gossett Jr.'s character's name is Chappie, and so he and the younger main character Doug,
whose name I don't know.
they're in a dogfight, and Lou Gossett Jr. gives him a tape, and is like, if something goes wrong, play this tape. And so if something does go wrong, Lou Gossett Jr. ends up, crashing into the ocean or whatever. And but before he dies, he's like, I'm not gonna make it. And he's like,
Play the
"Come on,
tape?"
play the tape. The kid puts the tape in, and it's a pre-recorded, like, kind of inspirational speech from Chappie, Lou Gossett Jr., to the kid. He tells the kid, Doug, God doesn't give people things he doesn't want them to use. And he gave you the touch. It's a power you have inside you, down there where you keep your guts, boy. And it's all you need to blast your way in and get back what they took from you. And so that inspired this song.
Wow.
holy cow. Okay.
So I guess Stan Bush is a fan of Lou Gossett Jr.
I mean, that's a deep cut.
That's interesting.
And there it was, Script Deviations Part 1. And next week is Script Deviations Part 2. Did you guys enjoy this? I don't know. Are you still listening? I guess if you aren't, then you'll never know that I asked a question, and we will remain radio dark. From your house to mine, happy holidays, and here we go into the future. Pistols at dawn. Bye, bye, bye.
Cybertron!
Blow cells, where we sell good.